In the next 10 minutes, we're going to go through how to eat the food that you love, pizza, bread, pasta, rice, sweets, without overindulging or over consuming, whether it's cookies, whatever. If you're someone that struggles to just stop at one, this is made for you. So, first of all, let's get one thing straight. Eating in moderation isn't about just having more willpower, right? Moderation becomes possible when you remove the mental blocks that make you feel like food has control over you. And we're going to be going through 6 invisible drivers that sabotage moderation, right? Now, for a bit of context, moderation can be subjective. What I mean by moderation is you're able to eat these foods while still consistently losing weight, lowering your A1C, and achieving remission, right? If you was to ask any of the ladies that I coach, are you on a diet? They'd all say absolutely not, right? They all still eat bread, pasta, rice, sweets, cookies, pizza. They eat the food that they love, and that's why it's sustainable long term. But anyway, let's go through these 6 invisible drivers together. Now, the first one is scarcity from past diets. If you've ever done a diet that forced you to give up your favorite foods for weeks or months, your brain remembers that. Your subconscious remembers that. So when those foods finally do show up, like cookies, bread, sweets, it goes quick, eat as much as you can now. Who knows when we'll get this again? And that's not necessarily like a conscious thought, but it's still a deeply embedded belief that lies within your subconscious that impacts your behaviors and choices and makes it very difficult to just stop at 1 or 2, right? This is called the scarcity effect. It's not a discipline problem, it's a protective response from your brain after too many all or nothing diets. So we have to provide evidence that, over time, that food isn't scarce, right? If I don't eat it today, I can have it tomorrow, right? It's not gonna be gone. It's not now or never. Food is not scarce, whether it's bread, pasta, rice, sweets, cookies. I don't have to eat it all now, but we have to provide the receipts and the evidence that that is in fact a thing, right? And that takes a little bit of time, but that's okay too. Next is over restriction, right? Not from past diets, but like now, right? If you've been on a new diet for like 3 weeks, and for the last 3 weeks, you've banned yourself from cookies. You've banned yourself from cookies for the last 3 weeks. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? Right? That cookie, whatever that food is, now holds emotional power. And the longer you delay eating it, the harder it becomes to just stop at 1. Right? So, scarcity from past diets, what we're referring to here is 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, repeated over years or decades. That's what we mean by scarcity from past diets. This over restriction here, we're referring to like now, in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, right? So you haven't got to cut out anything. You haven't got to cut out cookies. You haven't got to eliminate anything. The more that you cut out, the more miserable the approach feels, the more restrictive it feels, the more sacrifice it requires, the harder it feels. If it feels hard, if it feels restrictive, if it feels miserable, if it requires mountains of sacrifice, do you really think that that's a long-term solution for you? Of course it's not. This is why conventional diets don't work. We've got to learn how to manage the foods that we love, not just cut them out. Right? That's a road to nowheresville, and no one's visiting. No one wants to visit nowheresville. We just end up there by accident by cutting out too much of what we love. Right? We haven't got to eliminate anything. That's the path of least resistance. It's how we're able to achieve the goal and keep it for life rather than just yo-yo from one shiny diet to the next that leads us to nowhere, right? Next, it's unhealthy, so I need to get rid of it, right? This isn't overly common, but I've heard it, which is why I've added it to the list. I didn't want to miss anything out. It's healthy, so I need to get rid of it. You tell yourself, I don't want this junk food in the house, so I'll just eat it all to get it out of the way. That's not obviously moderation, that's just justification. And it comes from fear. Fear that if it's around, you won't be able to control yourself. So you'll see that many of these kind of link in with each other. Next, very common, the clean plate club. You are raised to finish everything on your plate. So when you're full, your brain whispers, don't waste it, finish it. But here's the truth, wasting food in the trash is unfortunate, right? Of course it is. But wasting it in your body when you're full is even worse, right? Leftovers are a gift to your future self. Feed your dog instead, right? If you've got a dog, you get the gist, right? If you're leaving food on your plate, it's either a waste of food or it's a waste of food in the trash or it's a waste of food in your body. One is just some dollars here and there thrown away. The other is your health being thrown away, right? Choose one, right? Choose one. Next, trying to moderate when you're stressed, emotional, or bored. This is a big one. Highly palatable foods, trying to eat highly palatable foods. And highly palatable foods are like subjective. It depends on you and what you like, personal preferences. But cookies, pizza, chocolate, potato chips, trying to eat highly palatable foods when you're emotional or stressed, that's probably not going to lead to the outcome that you want. Right? Until we manage the emotion, we want to avoid reaching for these foods. If you've had a really bad day, if you're really stressed, if you're upset, if you're emotional, now is not the time to reach for the potato chips, the cookies, the pizza. Right? Now is the wrong time to choose to eat those foods. Right? Now, I've got whole lessons on how to overcome things like emotional eating. There's 3 steps to actually overcome emotional eating. We're not going to go through that now because it's overly long. It'll extend this video by another 10 minutes. But if you do want that, all you got to do is let me know. Anyway, trying to moderate when you're stressed, emotional, or bored. The next one is negative self talk, periods of negative self talk or low self worth. Similar, but different. When you feel a bit bad about yourself, it's easy to say, who cares? I've already messed up. I might as well finish the whole thing. Now, this isn't about food, it's about identity. It's about how we manage negative self talk. And again, I've got whole lessons on how to manage negative self talk, but we want to keep this really compact, right? This comes down to how we manage the internal dialogue. Negative self talk is part of being a human being. It doesn't matter who you are, whether it's me, you. But what we want to learn is how to just pass that off as just noise and not believe it. And again, there's steps to doing so, right? So the solution here, right, is to learn real moderation. This isn't hard, right? Learning how to overcome these things isn't hard. Learning how to eat the food that you love isn't actually hard. The ladies that I look after typically learn that within our first month, and they've already ditched the diets and they never have to go on a diet ever again. Right. So release the scarcity, allow yourself to have those so-called forbidden foods more often in a calm environment, not when you're stressed or emotional. Don't wait for a cheat day. If you need a cheat day, it's because you hate your diet. And if you hate your diet, you're not going to stick to it. Don't have a cheat day. No one needs it. You shouldn't have to cheat on your diet. Right. Don't eat them when you're upset. Sit down, plate it, enjoy it. Don't sit down with the jumbo bag of M&Ms. Not gonna Probably not going to be very productive for your goals, right? Don't sit down with a giant bag of potato chips either, right? Drop the shoulds. Instead of thinking, I shouldn't eat this, that's nonsense. Ask, do I actually want this right now? Give yourself full permission to say yes or no. You can eat anything. The ladies that I coach are proof. I've done this for years. You can eat all of the food that you love and still drop 30 to 60 pounds plus, lower your A1C and achieve remission. We simply need to learn how to manage the food that we do love, right? Cool. And part of that comes down to the trifecta rule, right? When you do eat something more indulgent, remember what really matters is portion, one slice, two slices of pizza, not the whole pizza, right? Frequency, one pizza, one donut a week, two donuts a week, not five donuts a week, right? So portion is how much of it we eat in one sitting. Frequency is how often we eat it. Again, one donut a week, fine, manageable. But, five donuts Monday to Friday, that's not going to work. And balance, pair it with lighter meals that day. What this means is if you're going to have pizza for dinner because it's Friday, great. We need to make sure that we consume lighter meals elsewhere in the day, because if we don't, we're going to overconsume. And if this happens consistently, you're going to wonder why at the end of the month the scales haven't dropped. Your blood sugars still look like a roller coaster. And disrupt the emotional eating pattern. Pause, remove yourself from being in this reactive state to just reacting how we're feeling, and try our best to move into a more proactive state. Okay. Any questions about any of these things that we've just gone through? You know what to do. All you've got to do is shoot me a message, right? Don't leave this even more confused than when you can. That's not why I'm sat here in this chair talking to you. I say this all the time, right? But I don't want you to leave more confused than when you came. If you are genuinely confused, curious, all you've got to do is send me a message. I'll answer any and all questions that you might have. All right. Have a fantastic day, and I shall speak to you soon. Au revoir. Au revoir.